Okay guys, this is the supplies segment of our video here, and I'm going to show you the basic supplies that we're going to use for today's project, which is our Predator mask. We're going to be doing a dry brush silver, going for a faux metallic look. So I'll show you all the things we're going to use today, as well as some optional things if you prefer to use them. One is a cheap chip brush. You can get these from Lowe's, Walmart. The best is at Harbor Freight. You can get a whole box for like $9. Very good to have in this hobby. Just a chip brush. A thicker paint brush. You could do most of it with this, but we're going to have this on hand just in case we need it. Detail brush. And these are all horsehair bristle brushes. This is our detail brush in case we need to get into some small nooks or crannies. Sterling silver paint by Folk Art, not metallic sterling silver, just sterling silver. The color code is 1642. We have just some black licorice Folk Art paint. This is just for pretty much mistakes, covering up stuff. It is also a flat finish. We have our adhesion promoter, which we'll go over with later in the video. We have flat black paint. This is a cheaper brand, but it's decent flat black paint for using as your base coat. A couple optional things we can have are, one is, this is metallic spray paint. Now our basic coat of paint is going to be acrylic, okay, over our spray paint black base coat. What we can do with this metallic here is we could take a separate brush. Don't use your acrylic brush, but we take a separate brush and we can actually use this to just touch on the helmet and make highlights with thick metallic paint, which will just give like a luster, kind of like when you move the helmet a certain way, it'll look like maybe part of the helmet's been worn more than another part, which we'll go over later in the video. If you're going to be doing that technique, you're going to need a wire brush as well. I'll go over that later in the video. And finally, this is also optional, clear coat. This happens to be flat. I will not be using it in this video, but flat is good to have if you just have too much sheen and you need to take it out. Now, definitely I prefer the airbrush method for doing my highlights and water drops and just plain weathering. I do use some rubbing techniques, but one thing, if you're going to use the rubbing technique, you're going to need a rag, okay? This is just cut up shop rags I have. You're going to need a cup, alright, and you have your acrylic paint. But what we're going to use is we're going to use a gloss acrylic paint. You could also use this flat. This is just to be reduced down into the water, which we will go we'll go over that later on in the video. But those are the basic supplies you need. You might want to have you some paper towels handy. If you don't like getting your hands dirty, you could always use rubber gloves. But yeah, basically these are the supplies we'll be using today. So that's all. Okay guys, initially in this first step to prop painting, mask painting, helmet painting, since these products are primarily made of resin plastic, you're going to want to use an adhesion promoter. Okay, it's kind of hard, blurry to read. This is Duplicolor Adhesion Promoter. Another popular brand is called Bulldog. Bulldog is the best. They were out of Bulldog, so I'm using this. It's not too bad. All I've done is kind of went over the bumps and stuff on this casting that stuck out kind of higher. This is pretty much a rough casting. I'm just using for reference purposes here, to show you guys the steps to finishing a helmet. So what I'm going to do is you shake your promoter really well. I've already shaken it some, and you're going to want to put a couple of coats on it. And what this does is it really puts a layer, like basically glues your paint to this. So this stuff will dry kind of matty. It'll dry clear. So basically you want to put you 2 coats of this on there. You want to put smooth coats. I'm not going to say light hit coats. I'm not going to say heavy coats. But you want to be able to see it on the surface. And I like to go ahead and give it at least at least 20 minutes flash out time, and about 5 minutes in between each coat. So you put 1 coat on, wait 5 minutes, let it flash out, put another coat on, and then let it wait 20 minutes to fully flash out. And then we'll move on to our next step. We'll be putting the base color on. Alright, this is our next step, guys. This is going to be our base coat. Most of the time when I do a prop, if I'm going to add a color that I want to look really rich, and most standard prop makers use a black base coat, but I like to use a black base coat, and what it really does is it lets you get the deeper tones of the color you're trying to get. In this particular helmet, we're going to be going for a false metallic look, meaning it'll look like metal, but obviously it won't be metal. So what we're going to use is black for our base coat. Now this is a flat black, very, very cheap paint. If you do a lot of these helmets, you'll find that your base coat can be cheap, as long as you use a good adhesion promoter. Now when you're using flat, I say go cheap. But if you're using gloss colors or satin finishes, it definitely pays to buy the better quality paint. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to put a coat of black on there, and we're going to allow for a couple minutes, let's say 2 to 5 minutes in between coats, to let it kind of flash a little bit. And yeah, so this will be the next step, will be the base coat color. We're going to paint the whole thing black. So here we go. Okay guys, this next section of the video, this is where we're going to get into dry brushing technique that I use. And what we want to start out with, go ahead and take your chip brush and get you some tape. You're just going to peel you off about 5 inches, 6 inches. You're going to put it around your brush. Start from one end. Okay, and what we're doing is we're making it where these bristles don't just spread wherever they want while you're using your brush. So we're going to put just a little bit of pressure until it's almost kind of not real stiff, but you see the bristles don't go crazy whenever you're brushing it. All right. So now we've got our brush set to where we're going to paint. We're going to take our paint, which is the sterling silver. Make sure it's shook up real well. we're just gonna start out with that much. Don't put too much right off, because when you're dry brushing, the point is to use the least paint and get the most effect. So before we actually apply the first stroke, take your rag. This could be the one that you're going to use for your black wash later, and just go ahead and take the mask and rub it down. Make sure you're getting all the dust off, any little balls from the spray paint that didn't quite seize to the mask itself. And once you got it wiped off real good, we'll go ahead and I'll show you the dry brushing technique. Now, you might want to practice this on a piece of black painted paper first, or whatever you feel comfortable with. You might can go straight on the mask. Now remember that if you mess up, your base coat is black, right? So you can go back with black and you can cover it up and you can try again. But I'm going to go ahead and show you. Alright, I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to dab it in the silver about all the way across, and then I'm going to wipe the brush till there's not really much silver on it. Now when I do that, that's called the dry brush. Now what I can do is I can go to my high parts here and just basically I'm just rubbing it, just dragging it across, and because there's so little paint, it makes a really good stickiness to it. And what this is doing is giving us the false metallic effect, because your base coat is black and your top coat is a real vibrant silver. It gives you a nice gray tone, which accents the shininess of the silver. Now we'll just put a little more paint on our brush and kick it off again. Almost no paint on the brush, and we'll just keep working it. First we'll work all the high parts. And this is a really easy technique to get a really awesome finish. I say all your high parts, but basically all your parts that stick out to you. You want to hit those first. And I'm going to go to a time lapse again, but basically we're going to do the whole helmet in one layer, and then we can decide, how much more silver we want on it and where we want to highlight our parts. So I'll go ahead and set this down and we'll start the time lapse. Okay guys, I just showed you the time lapse, and we just did the first initial coat of the dry brush using our silver and our little brush rig we rigged up here. Now, right now it looks pretty good. It looks a little lighter on the camera, but what I want to do is I want more of a steely metallic look like off the movie. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do another dry brush layer, but this time I'm really going to concentrate on the high areas, and then I'll go back to the low areas to kind of give those a little shade as well. But this is, well, you could recognize this helmet, but this technique can be used on any helmet, any prop, to weather it, to make it look good. You can use this with any color. The stiffer the brush, the more grainy of the stroke you get. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and do another time lapse, and I'm going to hit all my high parts, and then we'll see what it looks like. Okay guys, in the first or the last episode we did, we finished the last layer of dry brush, which ended up being 2 layers of dry brush. So now what we're going to do is a weathering technique that anybody can do. And the reason why I'm featuring this is normally I airbrush the details and stuff onto these helmets. But not everybody has an airbrush. But everybody can get water, paint, a cup, and a rag. The dirtier the rag, the better. So all I'm doing is I'm mixing probably about 1 part black paint to 4 parts of water. Okay, this is a flat black acrylic paint. And all I'm doing is just kind of mixing it up here with the water. Use a cup that you can throw away because you're not going to want to reuse it. Be too hard to clean. Alright. What we're basically doing is we're making a wash. So we can wash the helmet and really bring out some of the detailed lines. And I'll show you here. Okay. This is a good wash, but I'll show you how I like to do this. Alright, we have this line here. It looks okay, but we want to bring it out. We really want to make it pop off the helmet. So what we can do is just take a smudge of your black, run it down that crack there, just like that. Get that paint all in there. And before the paint dries, just take your rag and wipe the excess. And what this will do is gives us a darker area here, but it also really sets that detail line in there. Really looks defined now. So now what we can do is actually take our wash we have here, soak our rag, okay, and then just come all around it like this. Catch that excess paint. It'll wash off that finger smudge we just did, but it'll also leave a black haze when it dries. So just kind of what you want. So take a little of our paint. Okay, if you don't want to use your finger, you don't have to. I like finger painting. So anyway, we'll just take it. Go to the other side, right? Same line. Smash the paint in there. Like I said, you don't have to use your fingers, but this is all water soluble, so why not? I'm going to get in the brow here really good. Okay. Then I'm going to come back with my wash and take out what doesn't need to be there. At the same time, I'm getting a dirty effect on my helmet. You do not have to apply this technique. It does not necessarily fall in with the other ones, but this will give you a good aged look to the helmet without looking cartoonily painted. That's why when you go into the prop stores and stuff, looks cheesy sometimes, just over painted. It's painted how it's supposed to look, but it doesn't look how it's supposed to look. Okay. So now my brow is pretty big here, so I want to define it pretty good. Since I don't have my airbrush, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to smudge it. Okay. But now I'm just going to take my rag and wipe off the high parts. Just like that. Initially, I'm just going to wipe off the high parts first. Which gives us that really good definition. And then I'm going to come in here. And I'm not really bearing down, I'm just kind of feathering the rag to take out those smudge marks from our finger. And it's water soluble, so I mean, if you don't like it, put some water, erase it, and start again. Like I said, this is with an airbrush. You would just come in and hit where you want to hit. It's a little harder with your fingers, but you can get almost the same effect. Alright. Now we're looking pretty dingy. So I'm going to blacken in the top of the nose here where water's been sitting for a while maybe. Sides of the cheek. I'm going to dip again. Now when you have enough areas done, you like the way it looks, you can take it up one other step now. This next step is going to make it look like it's been in the rain. Alright, or just, you know, stuff's been leaking on it, or however you want to look. Looking in the camera, I see that this area is kind of really shiny, so I can really nasty it up. Take my rag, give me a couple scuff marks, maybe take that shine down just a little, just in the center. Want it in the center because we want the edges to look like it's been brushing up against something. So now after we do that, take your wash, soak your rag, right? And just put some drizzles on the helmet and let it run down. Okay, so let it run down. All right. Now, this is kind of heavy. But what we can do is we're going to let it dry here for a second. And let the black, the acrylic kind of stick on there. Okay? And that way, when we come to wipe it off, it'll give us that shadowed effect without being too cartoony. Alright, so I want to add some to the cheekbones here. Some there. We'll just let that dry for a minute and we'll come back to it. Okay guys, last segment you saw we had drizzled the wash down the helmet, and all we did was we let it dry for about 2 minutes, and we came with a rag and we just hit it off. Okay, just hit it off just like that. Left us some really cool water spots. Just gave it a really good overall weathered look, which is what most of the time you're going for with a prop. This pretty much concludes it. At this point, if you want, you could go over it with a clear coat. Flat would take all the shiny spots out. You could go over it with a gloss and get you a movie replica look, or you could leave it just like it is, let it dry, because we use that adhesion promoter. It's gonna, paint's gonna stay on there pretty good. You shouldn't have to worry about it. If you're using it for display, you know, just make sure you dust it every now and then. It'll keep the luster up of the, not luster, but the, well, yeah, I guess the luster of the sterling silver paint. Only thing I'm gonna do before we go out is I'm gonna take the rest of my black paint here and I'm gonna make the eyes extra flat. And then what I'm going to do is come in here to the lasers here, which eventually I will have LEDs sticking in there, but for right now we're going to just black them in. It'll be just another highlight we can put on here. So I'll go to a time lapse and we'll paint those up. Okay guys, hope you had fun. This concludes our prop helmet painting and weathering tutorial. This is a complete mask. We'll just wait for it to dry now. And definitely have the Hollywood or prop appeal to it. You see, it really actually didn't take us that long. We had all our supplies and counting the drying time and everything, off and on for 2 hours, stress free. Drink a beer, paint your helmet. Unless you're under 21, then no beer while you're painting the helmet. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. And this is Two Coast Customs. We'll see you on the next one.